I'm Bob Piorun, and this is my show, Musically Speaking, where I'm documenting the history of music in Auburn and Central New York. And today we're at Dickman's, which I'm sure everyone here knows is a greenhouse, and they come to buy their flowers. Well, you're going to be in for a surprise, especially the younger generation, that for 30 years this was a nightclub with big band music. I want to first introduce the people I have here, my guests. This is Dick and Dottie Dickman, and this is one of the original musicians, Frank Fiore, who played trumpet, and we're going to talk about the band in just a minute. Before we do, though, I'm going to have Dick give a brief history of the Dickman family and how they got here and leading up into the nightclub.
Well, they started out in 1900. They came over from Germany, and they actually stopped in Pennsylvania, and they worked for a short period of time in the coal mines. And they found that they could buy 2 acres up here, so they moved up here 2 years later. And they started farming, and then from there, 3 years later, they built the house they lived in now, our business house we have. And from there, they moved on and built a greenhouse, and for the purpose of actually golf for 1 year. And then when the Prohibition was over, they made a nightclub out of it. And the nightclub ran till 1962. And it was at 500 people. We had 2 rubber trees in there, and the rubber trees would cover half of the greenhouse, and the greenhouse is 120 by 60.
And you had a little job with those rubber trees, I know.
They were kind of a pill for me, because the dang things would grow, and they want to grow right out of the top of the glass. So I was the youngest one in the family, and I got stuck for crawling up there and having to cut them down so they wouldn't go through the glass. And it was a filthy job, but somebody had to do it.
Right. Well, just to give people a perspective of this, if they've been to Dickman's when they come into the place to look at the flowers, this nightclub was across the street. That was where the original greenhouses started.
Right.
So in 1933, your father and his brother Carl, your father Herm, and your brother Carl, began the nightclub. Now, I did see something that I didn't know. Carl had been going up to Energetic Park, it was called then.
Energetic Park.
In Emerson Park, and he was seeing the big bands.
Correct.
And supposedly that gave him the insight,
the thought process.
I wonder how old he was. He still a teenager, maybe in probably early 30s.
I doubt that. He was probably in his early 20s.
But anyways, let's cut to the chase and let's get to the nightclub. We're going to start in the early days, and then we're going to talk about the house band. But the first bands were the Freddie Laxton Orchestra and a ladies band, which escaped my attention here. Frank, did you know who the ladies band was? It was early 30s. Okay.
Could have been the Laxtonettes.
Laxtonettes. But anyways, we're going to get right to the house band, which was Hal Baker, who started in 1938, and he went into 1962 when the club finally closed down. And it was a big band, for those people who don't know. I don't think, Frank, I'm seeing on the recordings and so on, 8 people. Did they ever, a big band would be 12, 16. Did they ever get up to that, or was it mostly...
Well, I think we were up to 11.
11?
Yeah.
I never...
There wasn't room for 16, Frank.
Oh, there was?
Yeah, on the band set.
So I'm here with Bonnie and Peggy, who are bakers, and they are the daughters of Hal Baker, who was the house band at Dickman's from 1938 to 1962. And he was also, tell us, Bonnie, some of the other things he did beside having, how many kids?
13 of us.
13 kids.
Children, 7 boys and 6 girls.
Right.
And my father was a farmer.
Right.
During the day, he worked at Elko manufacturing plant in
Right.
Auburn. And he played at Club Dickman.
Wow. That's quite a day right there. He started as the drummer, and he's on those, but later I think he came forward and was just the band leader.
Yes, but he also played the trumpet.
And
Trumpet and
drums,
drums.
yes.
I still have his drum. I have the original drum he
Oh,
had.
you do? Well, what was interesting that I wanted to bring up, our relationship, when we were in high school, we kind of hung with the same gang, and I was just beginning my musical career, and I went to your house and I met your father, and for some reason, I can still see him. He was, somebody said, I think his dad said he reminded of Jimmy Stewart. He was a tall, thin guy, wavy hair.
Yes, he was.
And I do remember him, but I don't remember talking music with him, which is too bad, you know.
Right. He didn't. In his later years, after he retired, he had an organ in the house, and he would play. There was always music.
I noticed when I went there, of course, the floor was cement, but you had a wood floor, so people,
You bet your life
people
it
could,
is.
people could
Hardwood,
dance it.
yeah.
Yeah. I saw another thing that I thought was interesting. Frank, you probably can comment on this. First of all, let's talk about the menu for a minute, and I'll tell you why. They didn't serve dinners, they served sandwiches.
Right.
And I saw in here, you can correct me, that people had to sit down before they would serve them.
Well, you can't eat standing up dancing.
No, they wouldn't serve the people till everybody was sitting down. And they said the band would play 3 numbers and stop, and then they would serve the food. Do you remember that?
That was the object.
Okay, so they could. Okay, so everybody wouldn't be falling over each other.
They didn't serve drinks and food while these gentlemen were playing.
Wow, I wish that was
Everybody
true
out
now.
dancing. Everybody was out dancing. And then when they had their break, then all the waitresses served the food and the drinks.
What'd they have?
A lot of chicken.
Lettuce and peanut butter.
Lettuce and peanut butter,
A lettuce
really?
sandwich and a peanut butter sandwich.
Really?
And right up to a club sandwich. Everything in between.
Wow. Well, what would a sandwich have cost? We're going to actually see the menu, but do you remember?
It was really reasonable.
Well, they're probably growing the lettuce here.
We were.
Yeah, so of course it was so cheap. That you came on the scene in 1950, and did you work in the kitchen with what was his grandmother? Did you?
No.
You didn't.
No.
What did you do here?
I came because I met Dick in high school, and we started dating. And my first time that I came up here, I just thought it was the most.
How old were you?
17.
17.
And I thought it was a magical place.
Right.
But since I was under curfew, I had to be home at 11 o'clock. So I, tried to. That year, I tried to get my dad to say I could stay out later, but 11 o'clock always stuck.
Wow.
So I had to wait till I graduated to be able to stay to the end of the evening.
This was not just a local place, Dick. You were telling me that busloads of people would come in from.
Hobart, Cornell, Wells College. Oh yeah.
Okay, and the men had to wear a jacket and tie,
Yes, sir.
and obviously the women were always well dressed.
Yeah, it worked out really good. One night, the bus came in from Hobart, and my dad and uncle were at the front bringing people in, and all of a sudden my father noticed that he saw the same tie all the time. And they'd have forgot their ties, and one guy had a tie, so what they were doing was putting the tie out the window and give it to the other guy so we can come in. It was pretty cool.
Frank, how did the? I see in the pictures you were dressed very nicely. I'm assuming the band was dressed well with suits and ties.
Oh yeah.
Do you have matching things or?
Well, we all had matching jackets and ties.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you something. What year did you come on? So the place of Hal Baker, who is a house band. We'll talk more about him in a minute. He actually was here for 38 to 62. What year did you come on? Do you remember what?
I'd come on when I was about 17 years old, but Hal Baker wasn't here then.
Oh, he wasn't.
Oh no, there was
Who'd you play with?
The Stardusters, which contained most high school kids from Skinny Atlas.
Oh.
And we played here until the end of the war.
What were
When all
you?
the boys come home from the service, Hell got the band back together.
Oh,
again,
I see. Yeah.
And, then they
Yeah,
started
we want
playing.
we want to talk about some of those people. One of my main aims is pay tribute to all these great musicians and try to get all their names in. And I want to talk about the let's start with the rhythm section. Some of these people I knew. I'm old enough to remember. Al Bronson
Yep, piano.
on piano. Now Hal played drums, but didn't later he just come out and lead the band, and you had another drummer? Is that correct, or
No,
did
he
Hal?
played- all the time I played, he played drums.
Oh, okay, because there's some other
Didn't he
drummers.
play trumpet once in a while?
Right, years ago he played
Yeah,
trumpet.
yeah.
There's some other drummers listed here. That's
Oh, yeah.
why I thought maybe he came up and. Well, let me bring up some of the names of the people, and if you want to intersperse anything about them, I'm going to read as many of these as I can to pay tribute to them. First one here is Frank Fiore, which is you, of course.
That figures. He's the main man.
Oh, actually, Lauren Bunn is first. Lauren Bunn, and I knew him, Bunny. He
Yeah.
played saxophone.
Yeah.
Frank Fiore, Frank Lentini. He played clarinet. Did he play sax also,
Right.
Frank? Jimmy Tripicano, I played with him. Played bass,
Yeah.
upright bass. Mike Servo played trumpet. I played with him. Al Bronson worked at Guerin Music, selling organs and pianos. Tony Battinery, I did a few jobs with him. Upright bass player.
Don't remember him.
Yes, he and his brother had a band for years after that. Jimmy Gentile. Now, was that the cop or was that?
Yes.
Yes. Lucian DeSocio. Everybody remembers Lucian.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
His daughter will be glad to hear him mention him. Stuart Terry. Stuart was a great guy. When I was at Raw Music, he was a piano tuner.
Yes, he was.
And
Yeah.
when I was a young guy, a lot of the older guys looked at the young guys that played guitar, not very well. But there were some of them who really helped me. Paul Gagliano, Frank Agati, and Stu Terry was one. Always encouraged me. Paul Rao. But I have good memories of Stu Terry. Al Fulton, I didn't know him. What did he play, Frank?
Right there.
Trumpet.
Oh, trumpet. Okay.
Yeah, that's him right there.
right there.
Eddie Berry,
He was a sax player.
sax player. Russ Wiley, I didn't know him.
Russ Wiley, trombone.
Trombone. Now it says Bill Crean, and I think that was a drummer, wasn't he?
That was Hal Baker's brother-in-law.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I think it was.
What do you remember?
See
What
the
he
girls
played?
nodding?
Do you
Yeah.
remember what he played? Okay, Bill Crean.
They were his drums that Hal Baker played on.
Oh, really? Really? So, I want to finish the names, then ask you something about rehearsals and so on. Okay, Bruce Murray. I remember the name, but what did he
Trombone.
play? Trombone. Bugs Brewster.
Don't remember him.
No, Bugs. Earl Williamson.
I forget what he played.
Okay, well we got his name in there. Bob Fisk,
Yeah, they were the old timers.
old time.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then I want to mention some other people. Rocco Sofa was here.
Well, maybe once or twice.
Well,
Yeah,
I
he-
saw it on the thing that he
Sometimes
played.
these guys are a fill-in because somebody had to
Exactly.
do something.
Right. And then, as I said, Dick Howard, he's in a nursing home now, and I talked to him about it. He actually said he played here. He might have come in and filled in
Oh, yeah.
or whatever, so on. Now, do you think, I want to make sure we got mention of everybody that you can, I noticed one thing I asked them, not a lot of singers. No. You don't remember any vocalists that,
Not me.
Once in a while, some of the guys in the band that sing, I forgot who they were.
right. Did Frank Fodi ever play here? He would have been a little younger, or
I think he played a couple of times.
a couple of times, yeah.
He's my age.
Tell me some of the songs that you and the other ladies enjoyed. You already mentioned a couple, but tell me some of the songs that stand out in your mind that they
Oh,
played.
Stardust, of course.
Stardust.
Probably-
Tangerine was the opening song. That was a pretty song.
They started the night with Tangerine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tangerine, she is all they claim, with her eyes of night and lips as bright as flames. Tangerine, when she dances by, señorita stare and cavallero sigh.
I liked all the Jitterbug music.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that was my.
The Johnson Rag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
That was a
Did they have dance contests at all? I never saw
No,
much of that.
no. But then at the end of the evening, they had the bunny hop and
Right.
conga
A
line.
conga line?
Oh, yeah.
Really? I
Oh,
didn't.
yeah.
Oh,
All
wow.
around the
Oh, all
place,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, I like
Wow.
that too.
And I might mention, I didn't say this yet. First of all, for people to know, the club went 3 nights a week: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it went from 9 to 1 and sometime 9 to 2 on
On
Saturdays or so on. So you would get up to 500 people. It would hold.
Yes.
It would hold 500
Yes.
people. And do you think most of the time it was full in the heyday of the?
Oh yeah.
It was busy.
Let me ask you
It
some.
was busy.
Let me ask you musical questions that the musicians will want to know. I was asking Bonnie and her sister, where did the band rehearse?
Right here.
Oh, you rehearsed here.
Yeah.
Did you actually have dedicated rehearsals, or were you just get here early and look at a new chart? Or
No, we had certain nights we come up and rehearse.
yeah, how were the acoustics here from musicians?
They were good here, I thought.
Yeah, probably, you know, with all, they had Boston ferns hanging all over the place.
Right, it's
Yeah, so-
absorbed
Well, the
in those
problem-
rubber plants.
Well, yeah,
And the
but
rubber
the
tree.
problem, you know, and they had all the Japanese lanterns.
Right.
And by the same token, you had to have that because it would go up and hit the glass and come
I see.
back down. So that was the object. And then the
Wow.
bandstand where these gentlemen were, there was an overhang. And when they played, they didn't play up, they played out. So the
Right.
music didn't go up. And that made a difference
Right,
in the whole
right.
thing. And many times when the guys played, they had the hats they put over the trumpets and so forth.
Right.
You take the hat and put it over the trumpet and play. That was
Sometime a
good.
toilet plunger.
It was no, we didn't go there.
Well, that was actually the norm.
No, we didn't do that.
Oh, they didn't use.
We were too classy
Yeah.
for that.
They turn off the lights during the night, and you could see up to the stars and the moon.
It's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that right?
And you had to be a couple when you were here. You know,
Okay, that's
couple.
right. You had
That
to,
made a difference. You know.
right. People weren't as rowdy if they're.
But
with-
the lights in where the folks sat to have their drinks and so forth, the bulbs in there, my dad he had a special place down Slaughter where he took those bulbs and he dipped them in 3 kinds of paint.
Oh, really?
And all the bulbs were put in that 3 different colors of paint. So the top of the bulb was actually black.
Oh.
So when they put the bulb in and then they had the cover over the top, none of that light went up. All the light stayed down.
Now, where was this? On
All
the
the-
floor, you mean, or where was the
No,
light?
on the table.
Oh, it was on the table.
It was on the table.
Oh, so it would spread out. I see
Yeah,
what you mean.
so it was spread out on the table and not go up.
So we had all these plants in there, an open sky with the glass. You
Yep.
could see the stars when they turned down.
Or the rain.
And all the. It sounds like it was beautiful.
When the moon was out, they turned the lights off overhead, and the moon would shine down on the dance floor.
Sounds like a romantic place.
It was awesome. Yeah.
tangerine. She is all they claim, with her eyes of night and lips as bright as flames. Tangerine, when she dances by, señorita stare and cavallero sigh. And I've seen toast to tangerine raised in every bar across the Argentine. Yeah, she has them all on the run, but her heart belongs just to one. Her heart belongs to tangerine.